The Galactic Research Station hummed with its usual sterile efficiency when Professor Zexithera arrived with what the other species could only describe as a nightmare. The plant writhed in its containment unit, its crimson maw lined with needle-sharp teeth that snapped hungrily at anything that moved too close. Acidic drool pooled at the base of its container, eating through the metal floor with soft hissing sounds. Magnificent specimen from Kepler 442c, the six-limbed Vorthak professor announced to the assembled xenobiologists, his compound eyes gleaming with academic pride. Notice the aggressive feeding response and the neurotoxic secretions. We estimate it could consume a creature twice our size within minutes. The gathered aliens, crystalline hegemony scientists, aquatic federation researchers, and various other species recoiled appropriately. Several took careful steps backward, their various appendages twitching with evolutionary dread. All except the two humans in the corner. Raza Chen leaned forward with obvious interest, his dark eyes studying the creature's movement patterns. Beside him, Dr. Fiza Malik was already pulling out her datapad, fingers flying across the holographic interface as she took notes. "Beautiful," Fiza murmured, completely unbothered by the plant's aggressive display. "Look at those feeding mechanisms. Incredibly efficient." Professor Zexithera's mandibles clicked with surprise. Most species required weeks of psychological conditioning before they could even look at a Kepler carnivorous plant without triggering their flight responses. Yet these humans seemed fascinated. "Yes, well," the professor continued, somewhat flustered. "We've had 3 research teams attempt to study it. Each time the stress of proximity caused complete psychological breakdown. The creature's mere presence triggers every survival instinct evolved life possesses. We're hoping the new containment protocols will—" "Can I feed it?" Raza interrupted, causing a ripple of shocked silence through the room. The question was so unexpected that Professor Zexithera's translator unit seemed to glitch. What?" "Feed it," Raza repeated calmly. "It's clearly hungry and stressed. New environment, strange smells, probably hasn't eaten properly since you collected it." He gestured toward the plant, which had begun a low, ominous humming. "Look at that color shift in its petals. Classic stress response in predatory flora." Fiza nodded in agreement. "We should check its feeding schedule. Irregular meals can cause aggressive behavior in carnivorous plants. Back on Earth, my Venus flytraps get cranky if I don't maintain their diet." The room fell silent except for the creature's increasingly agitated thrashing. You have carnivorous plants as companions?" asked Dr. Quelix, a mantis-like researcher whose antennae were vibrating with disbelief. "Sure," Fiza said cheerfully. "Venus flytraps, pitcher plants, sundews, they're great for pest control." She paused, studying the alien plant more carefully. "This one looks similar to our Nepenthes species, but with more developed neural pathways. Probably much more intelligent." Professor Zexithera felt his worldview shifting in uncomfortable ways. These humans were discussing the most terrifying predator in this sector of the galaxy, as if it were a household pet. "The feeding mechanism," Raza mused. "It's designed for flying prey, right? Those rapid snap reflexes, the upward-facing orientation." He turned to Professor Zexithera. "What did you try feeding it?" We attempted to provide protein cubes and nutrient solutions," the professor admitted. "Standard research feeding protocols." Raza and Fiza exchanged a look that somehow conveyed volumes of communication. "No wonder it's unhappy," Fiza said. "It's a specialized predator. It needs the hunt, the chase, the living prey." She looked around the room at the increasingly disturbed faces of her alien colleagues. "Do you have any flying insects in the facility?" 20 minutes later, the research team watched in amazement as Raza carefully released a handful of facility maintenance drones, small flying robots about the size of Earth houseflies, near the plant's container. The creature's response was immediate and startling. Its aggressive thrashing ceased. The angry red coloration of its petals shifted to a more neutral green. And then, with lightning-fast precision, it began hunting. Snap. One drone disappeared into its maw. Snap. Another. But the most remarkable change wasn't in its feeding behavior. It was the sound that began emanating from the plant as it ate. A low, rhythmic rumble that grew steadily more pronounced with each successful capture. Is it purring? Dr. Quelix whispered, his compound eyes wide with disbelief. Definitely purring, Fiza confirmed, making notes on her data pad. Contentment, vocalization. We see similar behaviors in Earth's carnivorous plants when they're well-fed and comfortable, though usually not this pronounced. The plant had consumed all the drones and was now swaying gently, its purring sound filling the research bay with what could only be described as satisfaction. The acidic drool had stopped, replaced by what appeared to be a much milder digestive secretion. Remarkable, Professor Zexathera breathed. In 3 standard cycles of research, no one thought to... He trailed off, staring at the now peaceful creature. Raza approached the container slowly, his movements calm and deliberate. The plant's sensors tracked him, but showed no aggressive response. Instead, it seemed almost curious. The key with any predator, Raza explained to the stunned researchers, is understanding what it actually needs, not what we think it should need. He gestured toward the contentedly purring plant. This beauty isn't a monster. It's just a very specialized hunter that was being treated like a herbivore. Over the following days, word spread throughout the research station about the humans who had tamed the impossible creature. Other researchers began requesting consultations for their own problematic specimens. Raza and Fiza found themselves busy with a parade of supposedly vicious alien life forms that, more often than not, simply needed someone to understand their actual needs rather than their fearsome reputations. The carnivorous plant, meanwhile, had become something of a station mascot. It purred contentedly when researchers passed by, and had even begun producing small bioluminescent flowers that filled its section of the lab with gentle, shifting light. Humans are remarkable, Professor Zexathara confided to his research notes one evening, watching Fiza conduct a routine feeding while the plant practically vibrated with happiness. Where other species see monsters, they see misunderstood creatures needing care. Their capacity for empathy extends to beings that should, by all evolutionary logic, terrify them. He paused in his dictation, watching Raza gently clean the plant's container while it leaned toward him like an affectionate pet. Perhaps, he continued, this is why humans have become such effective peacekeepers in the galaxy. They possess the unusual ability to find common ground with even the most alien of minds. The plant's contented purring filled the research bay, a sound that had become as familiar and comforting as the station's life support systems. And in the growing garden of earth plants that Fiza had started in the adjoining lab, Venus flytraps and pitcher plants living harmoniously alongside their alien cousins, the future of interspecies understanding seemed to be taking root.